Like, if Dak can't handle this situation, then maybe you're not the guy to lead us to a Super Bowl. It behooves him to go out and play the absolute best he can so that he can get a deal either with the Cowboys or the next team.
Things are potentially looking disastrous for the Dallas Cowboys. And although things haven't gone nuclear yet, when you look at the situation they're in now and where they could be in a year from now, things don't look good for this team. And it's more than just Dak Prescott's contract extension. It's the methodology that the Dallas Cowboys are taking in constructing their team currently. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help us make the push to 900,000 subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, before we start this upload, PrizePicks has us with another free square. All Dustin Poirier needs is one significant strike at UFC 302 for his square to cash, which means you could pair his free square with any player in the NBA and get up to 3x your money. And right now, when you use my promo code FlightMike on PrizePicks, they'll double your deposit match up to $100. I'll let you guys know what my picks are on my Instagram page at @TheFlightMike, and thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It's been a very interesting offseason for both the quarterback market and the wide receiver market. And if you happen to be a team that needs to extend their starting quarterback and starting wide receiver, then you might be in some trouble. And this doesn't only extend to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, recently Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both decided to skip OTAs in order to protest the fact that they wanted a new contract, which I think that in of itself is another disaster waiting to happen, because I don't think there's a way that you could pay Jamar Chase a top 2 wide receiver contract and also sign T. Higgins to his exact value and keep him happy. A team that was able to do this perfectly was none other than the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles were very proactive in extending Devontae Smith, a player that didn't even need a contract extension this offseason, but the moment they were able to get him to sign on the dotted line, they made sure to pay him his exact value. The Eagles then turned their attention to A.J. Brown, a player who also didn't need a contract extension for another year. But with Amon-Ra St. Brown getting paid $77 million guaranteed, and with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and CeeDee Lamb all being up for contract extensions, they understood that if they hit the ground running and extended their wide receivers sooner rather than later, then they'll save money in the long run. There's obviously pros and cons to doing this. By signing A.J. Brown earlier, they're hoping that he could outperform the amount that he's getting paid, and they're hoping that he doesn't sustain a major injury over the next couple of years. The caveat to that is if he sustains a major injury, then it could handicap your team. But more often than not, this happens to be a very intelligent decision. If you feel that the market is starting to inflate, you need to hit the ground running on extending your wide receiver or your quarterback as soon as possible. And I guess this is my problem with the Dallas Cowboys, because historically they've always taken the opposite approach. I mean, the last time Dak Prescott was up for a contract extension was following the 2019 season. The Cowboys could have extended him during that offseason for something like $33 million a year annually, but instead they decided to franchise tag him for the 2020 season. The result? Well, Dak Prescott would end up breaking his leg in a freak injury, and the Cowboys would sign him for significantly more the year after anyway, to a 4-year contract extension for $160 million with $126 million guaranteed. The thing that was idiotic about this contract was it was backloaded, meaning that not only did the Cowboys decide to sign Dak Prescott to a huge contract extension, but they decided to sign him to a contract extension that would have virtually no cap hit in the beginning of the extension and then a tremendous cap hit towards the end of the extension. Essentially, what the contract meant was the Cowboys had no choice but to extend Dak Prescott at the end of this contract that he just signed, or else they were going to incur a $55.4 million cap hit. No matter what the Cowboys do, they're going to feel the wrath of this contract extension from Dak Prescott. Unless if, of course, they decide to extend him again and spread the cap hit and kick the can further down the road. You could see why Dak Prescott wasn't really intimidated when the Cowboys traded for Trey Lance. It's primarily because even if they want to move on from him, the Trey Lance era would be screwed because of the cap penalties. Now, the thing that makes this situation with Dak Prescott so fascinating is Dak is playing both sides. 1 month ago, he said he was open to playing with another team after 2024, saying, "I'm not going to say I fear being here or not. I don't fear either situation, to be candid with you. I love this game and I love to play and love to better myself as a player and my teammates around me. Right now, it's with the Dallas Cowboys. It's where I want to be, and that's where I am, and that's the focus. And after the season, we'll see where we're at, and if the future holds that, and if not, we'll go from there." But he's also saying some weird stuff. He has mentioned in the past that he doesn't need a max contract extension, which would make a lot of sense considering the fact that he hasn't really had much postseason success in signing the previous contract extension. If you guys remember, a month ago he said, "I'm not trying to be the highest paid player necessarily. We'll wait until the negotiations begin, and obviously I want to put this team in the best situation." But then more recently, he's been saying more questionable things, such as he doesn't play for money, which is hilarious because if you just take this as a standalone quote, it sounds absurd, but listen to him say it himself.
"I don't play for money. Never have, never cared for it, to be honest with you. Yeah, would give it up just to play this game." So
now, I don't know if the Cowboys are trying to use this as leverage, but Dak Prescott himself has said that Trey Lance has gotten so much better in his time with the Cowboys. "I'm excited for where he is now. He works his off, he's pushing me. I'm somebody that I don't like to let other people get more reps than me, and Trey is the person I need to watch because he's trying to get up there on the rep count. That's a testament to him and how much he's putting into this. I've seen it, he's gotten better, and he can play." Now, when Dak was asked about not being threatened by what Trey could be and how it relates to him and his contract situation, he said, "As long as he's getting better, I promise you I'm getting better. I encourage it. I hope he pushes me. I hope he makes people think. I know where I'll be, and I know who I am. I'm confident in the person and player that I am. I hope he does, and I hope he pushes me." So I don't know if the Cowboys are trying to use Trey Lance as leverage. Trey Lance himself has said he feels way more confident, which is good because I feel like the Cowboys want to take the Jordan Love approach with Trey Lance, which makes a lot of sense considering that Trey Lance was a former top 3 pick and currently just turned 24 years old. He even said that my confidence is much higher than it was when I got into the NFL. I kind of didn't know what to expect. I think that's probably most rookies, if not all of them at one point or another throughout that first year. I feel great about where I'm at, continue to get better, continue to learn, and continue to be a better quarterback. There's this rumor that suggests that Mike McCarthy wanted to stay on as head coach in order to develop Trey Lance. But to be honest, there's no way that the Cowboys can move on to Trey Lance as a succession plan until they figure out what to do with Dak Prescott's contract. And I have no faith in the Cowboys being able to manage Dak Prescott's contract because they don't even know how to handle CeeDee Lamb's upcoming contract extension. And then after that, you have to figure out how to pay Micah Parsons. Like, you don't need to be some sort of economist or salary capologist or some sort of genius to understand that the longer you wait and the more the salary cap increases, the more you're gonna have to pay your wide receivers. So it's in your best interest to sign that contract sooner rather than later if you're convinced that CeeDee Lamb is your wide receiver 1. And even CeeDee Lamb himself says that he's okay waiting on contract talks because he's waiting for Justin Jefferson to sign his deal. CD could be aiming to surpass Justin Jefferson's deal. Could you sit back and think how absurd that would be? Could you imagine if the Dallas Cowboys end up paying CeeDee Lamb more money than the best wide receiver in the entire NFL? Because that could potentially be a reality, and it's something that the Cowboys have done in the past. The reason why I'm so pessimistic about this team is historically they've just shown an inability to get the most value for their investments, whether it's trading Amari Cooper for a 6th round pick or waiting until the last possible moment to extend their stars. They completely fumbled the Ezekiel Elliott holdout from a couple years back and made him the 2nd highest earning running back of all time. And now they're in a situation where they're in salary cap hell and have a top 5 wide receiver and a top 3 defensive player that need new contracts within the next 2 years. And I just don't see a way for them to come out of this where I could look at what Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones Jones have done and think to myself as a fan, wow, they did a great job, especially if CeeDee Lamb ends up getting paid more than Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, especially if Dak Prescott is able to exceed Jared Goff's recent contract extension. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this, man? Especially if you're a Cowboy fan. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.